Hello, welcome here. In this video, we are going to create a personal website in which we can store blog posts. This website will be created in a Next.js 13. We'll be using the newest features, and actually you can already see on your screens the application we are going to work on in this video. We'll have the homepage on which we'll have a couple of blog posts, which will be generated from the static content from the Markdown files, and then we have detailed pages with the content of the blog post. So let's get straight away into this, and we'll start with the initialization of our projects. I highly encouraging you to code along with me. Okay, so let's begin. The first thing, we'll initialize the Next.js project. We will be using the latest Next.js 13 to initialize the project. It's very simple. Just copy this command. Actually, this command down here, we'll be using the TypeScript. Copy it, go to your terminal, and find the folder when you want to initialize the project. Paste it in. Let's press the enter, and after that, we will choose the name of the project. I will call it just a static or just a personal app. Yeah, personal-app. All right, I will press enter. I will press yes here. This will install the dependencies, and after that, the dependencies will be installed. We will open the project in Visual Studio Code. I will go a little bit faster because it takes a lot of features to implement this, and I would like to have this video shorter on YouTube. And you can anyway stop the video, or you can slow it down if I'm talking too fast. Okay, everything seems to be installed. Now open. Let's navigate to the project folder. So cd personal app. All right, let's get it running. npm run dev. Open Visual Studio Code. Let's locate the file. So open this. I'll go to my Udemy projects. Actually, here, YouTube personal app. I'll open this. And like this. Perfect. Now, open your browsers. We'll go to the localhost 3000. And here is our project, the initial project. Okay, we want to do some restructurization because we'll be using the latest Next.js 13. So go ahead to your coding editors. And the first thing, we'll remove the entire pages folder. Quite a big change, but let's remove the entire pages folder. Let's remove it. Now, styles folder, let's remove the entire home module, CSS. Go to global CSS. You can remove everything here. Let's leave it empty. Okay. Now, in the new Next.js, you are working under the app folder. So let's right-click here, create a new folder. Let's call it app. Now, in the app folder, create a new file. And in this, we'll create a page tsx, which will be the home page. That's how you're creating the homepage in the Next.js 13. If you are not sure about these features, I have also video on the YouTube about the Next.js 13 features where I am explaining them. Okay, so page tsx, and it will create here a very simple page. Let's write here const page. Like this is a normal function which returns JSX. And let's export default it, export default page. And since we are using the TypeScript, let's specify the type of the page, which is in the Next.js next page, like this. Okay, so we have here next page. We'll return here just some testing content. Let's say div, oops, not a div, but div hello world. Perfect. Let's say this. Okay, now we can. Now this will not work yet because these features are in the beta version now. So if you are still working on while watching the video on the Next 13 beta, which will be this version in package.json 13.0.3, then you need to go to the next config.js and you need to mark this as a experimental. So you will write it here experimental like this, right here, comma after the curly brackets, and let's write here updir is true. This will allow you to use this app directory in your project. Okay, let's save this. After this, we need to recompile our project. So we need to go to the terminal, shut this down, clear it out, and let's run here npm run dev. All right, let's go to the project folder, localhost 3000, let's refresh, and you should see in the left top corner, hello world. So everything is working. Plus, 2 additional files has been generated for you in the meantime. So when you will go back to the code, you should see in the app folder that the layout.tsx has been generated, and also head tsx has been generated. So in the head tsx, you can place the head meta tags and other things. And in the layout.tsx, that's the wrapper around all of your pages. So children here referencing to your page.tsx. So when I will wrap it Here for example, I'll write here div. All right, like this. I'll write here class name. Let's say main wrapper or whatever container, and I will create a container class. I'll go to the global CSS, let's write a container class, and let's write here, let's say padding of 400 pixels like this. Let's save this. We need to import the global CSS into the layout now. So let's go to the layout, and up here let's import outside of this folder from the styles global CSS. Global CSS like this. You will see it will be wrapped by the container. So we'll save it. I will go back to the browser, and you can see there is a padding. I'll inspect this. Don't worry, this issue here that's not related to the Next.js, but to my extensions I'm using. And here's a container you can see, and the padding is 400 pixels, and you can see that this div is wrapping our page. Okay, but we don't of course want to work with a padding of 400 pixels, so I will remove it like this, and we can just leave it as it was. Now, I would like to have better stylings in my application, and to have a better stylings, we'll be using the Tailwind framework, CSS framework. For this, go to your browsers and open this website, tailwindcss.com/docs/guides/Next.js. All of these links you can find also in the description of the video. And what we need to do, follow the steps, just simply copy this command, npm install -d Tailwind CSS post CSS auto prefixer, copy them. Now, if you want, you can use the npm or pnpm package manager. If you have a pnpm, you can do this. You can write here pnpm install. If you're using normal npm, just stay with the npm. I'm using pnpm, so I will write here pnpm install -d Tailwind CSS post CSS and auto prefixer. Let's press the enter. This will start installing. Okay, and after that we can follow the other steps. So we'll go back to the browser. The other step is npx Tailwind CSS init-p. So let's copy this command, go back to the terminal, and let's paste it here. All right, that has been done. Now just copy this content, tailwindconfig.js, and go to tailwindconfig.js, which has been generated for you, paste it here. By the way, pages and components you don't need, just leave here up folder like this. Okay, now one more step. Get back here, and from the global to the global CSS, we need to import the Tailwind directive. So let's copy this, go to the back to the code. In the styles global CSS, you can remove the container and just get here the Tailwind directives, which will get you the Tailwind stylings. Now I will be able to use the Tailwind styles. And to test it out that everything has been initialized correctly, just get this h1 from here, get back to the code. Let's go to the page tsx, and let's get it here. Okay, now let's recompile your projects. Go to the terminal, shut your project down if it's running, and run here npm run dev. All right, and you should see here now in your localhost 3000 that you should have here this hello world, and it's underlined. Okay, so now we have a CSS framework. We have initialized the Next.js. The next step will be to get some content into our application, so we can display some content. Okay, to get the content, actually these links are included in the description of this video, but the content is located here on this website, on this GitHub repo. Actually, it will be better maybe to look at it like this. So here is a GitHub repo. You can see the link, github.com/jerga99/personal-app/3/main/content/blog. So that's the entire path to it. And here you can choose the blocks or some content, the Markdown content we'll be using in our applications. So first thing, go to the code, and in the main folder of the application, let's right click here, create here a new folder, let's call it content. In the content folder, create a new folder, let's call it blocks. And in the blocks, create a new file, call it block1.md and block2md. And block2md. Go back to the browser, copy the content. So I will be using the Markdown full example. I will click here. I will copy this, but I will copy it as a raw content because it's a Markdown content. So I'll click here raw. That's how the Markdown content looks like. So I will copy everything from here, Control-A, copy it, and paste it here. Okay, this is actually block 1, so I'll paste it here. Okay, now to block 2. Block 2 is here. It's under the same folder, blocks folder, and actually that is the same file, so I need to let me find the other file. So we'll go to the, let's say, NFT marketplace in React and TypeScript. I'll click this and row. I will copy the content and I will paste it here. In this type of architecture, as the identifier of the file, I will be using the file name, in which will I call as the title of the blog post, just everything lowercase and separated by the dashes, which is called usually in programming slug, which is the unique identifier, which is readable. So go to the blog1md and create here a slug. So slug will look like something like this. I'll write here about these quotation signs. I'll copy this title here, and as I mentioned, I will lowercase everything like this. Example update we don't need like this, and I will separate everything by the dashes, dash here, dash here. I will copy this, markdown dash extensive dash example, and I will use it as my file name. So I will rename the block 1 for this. Okay, markdown extensive example. Now I will remove this part from the content, and I will just leave here title description as it was before. Okay, now the block 2, the same thing. I will copy the title and like this, and I will just simply lowercase everything NFT dash marketplace dash in React lowercase. I will remove the comma, TypeScript lowercase, and symbol I will remove dash solidity dash full dash guide. I will copy this lowercase guide, copy this, remove it back from here, rename the file block 2 md to this. Okay, so this will be also identifier of our blog post, and we'll be using it as a slug. Okay, so that's our two contents, and now we want to display them in our page. By the way, and this upper part is the front matter. What is separated by the 3 dashes, it's called front matter, and that's just a metadata of your blog post. What it's down here is the actual content of the blog post we will be displaying on our page. Also, metadata will be displaying on our page, but the content will be displayed separately. About everything, all of this in much more detail, I'm talking actually in my course. So if you are interested, you can watch the full course if this is very brief for you, very short description. Okay, so let's continue and let's try to display the actual content on our homepage. I will close all these tabs, we don't need them, so it's just right click here and close others. I will create here files, we'll create here library to actually get these file names from our content/blogs folder. So let me create here a new folder. In our main folder, we'll call it a lib. So new folder, let's call it a lib. In the lib folder, we will create a new folder, or actually new file straight away. We'll call it blogs.ts. In the blogs.ts, we'll create helper functions to get these file names. So first, import here 2 things. Import here join. Import here join from path, like this, and import here fs from fs file system. Okay. Now I'll create here a helper function called getDirectory, like this. To get a directory, I will need to know the directory path. So let here just as the argument will be path of the string, and as the return will be here join process.cvd current working directory, like this, and the path. Okay, so this will get me the directory. Okay, so this will construct the directory. So this will just simply join the current working directory plus path I'm looking for. I will show you the example of this later. Now I'll create a helper function called get file names, like this. Here I will provide the actual directory string, and this will return the array of the strings like this. Okay, and I will return here fs and read directory sync, to which I will provide a directory. And finally, the functions we will be using, get block file names. Get block file names like this. All right, and from here we'll return get file names, and we'll provide a directory to /content/blocks, like this. Okay, so to the get file names, we'll provide this string /content/blocks. We'll be reading the directory. Actually, this will not work like this, because when we'll try to read directory sync and we'll provide here just a /content/blocks, it will not know what to look for. So here we should use our helper function down here, get directory get a directory which will construct the full path to /content/blocks. So this will construct the full path, this function, and will provide to get file names which will get our which will read the directory and will get the file names. I will show it to you. So let's write here export, and we'll export get block file names. Okay, so now if I go block file names, we'll go to the page.tsx, and here we'll get this content. So let's write here async function, and we'll call it get blocks. All right, and we'll get here file names. So const file names for which we'll use our function get block file names. So get block file names like this, and we'll return here simply file names. To get actual blocks on the page, we can just use the use function from the React like this, and we'll provide here get blocks. This is what we have created here. We'll call this, and we'll assign it to the variable which we'll call names. Okay. Of course, we're not getting the actual blocks yet. We're just getting the names. Okay. And these names will display. So I'll write here, instead of the hello world, I'll write here curly brackets and json.stringify, and I'll write here names. All right, let's save this. Go back to the browser, and I'll refresh on your page, and you should see here, you can see here the file names of our block content. So that's actually these file names you are seeing here in your content folder. Okay, Markdown extensive example, NFT and NFT marketplace. Okay, so now when we have a file names, what we can actually get here will be the actual blog posts. So let's go to the library folder, and thanks to the file names, we can fetch the actual content of the blog post. So I'll create here a function. I will call it get blocks. Get blocks, normal arrow function like this. All right, and here we will use our function to get a file name, so we can get them here. So const names get block file names. This will get me the names. Now I will iterate through these names. I will write here const items equal names, and we will use here a function to map over the names like this. I will get a file name. And now I want to. Now I would like to get a content of this file, but for this we need to create a separate function. So let me create here a function up here, const, and let's call it get item in path. Get item in path, which as the argument we will provide the path from which we will want to get the content from. So I'll call it file of path of string. Okay, I'll write here a variable. I'll call it file content. And we'll use here again the function fs library. We'll use actually the file system and file system module, and we'll call on this a function read file sync. So read file sync. All right, and we'll provide here file path and encoding, which usually using UTF-8 encoding. All right. Okay, so I will provide the file path, and this will get me the file content. This will read the file, and this will get me back the content, which I can return back. So return file content. To simplify a couple of things, I will create here. I'll get here the actually of our blocks folder. So I will get here a new variable. I will call it block underscore directory. And I'll write here get directory, and we'll get here directory of /content/blocks. So we don't need to call the get directory in our functions here. So now instead of the get directory here, I can just provide the actual block directory here, and the similar thing I will be doing down here. So here, as we are mapping through the file names, all right, we want to call here get item in path, where I will call the join function, and to the join function I will provide the block directory plus the file name. Okay, so I'm joining together the content/blocks plus the file name I'm iterating through, and this will get me the file content, and we'll provide it into the items array, which I will return from here. So let's return here items like this. Okay, and now I can use this function to get actual blog posts. So let's go to the page TSX. You can notice here that we are calling get blocks here, and we'll be calling now get blocks from here. Actually, we need to re-export it. So under the get block file name, so let's write here get blocks. Okay, and here in a page TSX, let's rename this function to get initial blocks like this. And here in the file, as we are getting the file names, you just call here get blocks, and you need to import it from the library/blocks from up here. Now file names we will call blocks, and we'll return from here blocks like this. Here we'll be calling down in a page get initial blocks, which we will call not names but the blocks now. Now we'll remove this part. We will change the h1 to the div, which will be better to read. We'll remove the class name, so it's not underlined and such a big letters, and we'll iterate through the blocks. So it's curly brackets. Let's write here blocks dot map. We'll iterate through the block. We'll get a single block in each iteration. Let's put it on the new line here. We'll display it in the div like this. Close it. Maybe it will be underlined because we need to provide here key prop, which we don't have any value we can provide as a key. So I will provide the index. So as you are mapping here, let's wrap your block in the normal brackets, and let's provide here also index of current iterations provided as the a key in the div. Okay, and here in the div display the block. Okay, and under the block, let's write here a div. You can self-close it, and let's write here a class name h10. So this will be the empty div, which will serve as a separator between our blog posts. So just to show you this better on our web page. And let's remove this get block file names from the imports, and that's how it should look like now. Let's save everything, please. Go to the browser, and that's, you can see, that's the content of the one blog post, and here is the second blog post. So we fetched both of them from our Markdown file. So we fetched this one from the content blocks. Here, the entire content we fetched an NFT marketplace, and you can see the entire content here. Okay, and we just iterated through this blog post and displayed them here as a block. And this div here with the h10, which is the height of 40 pixels, is empty. Here, this div, it's this empty line you can see in between. Okay, so there's this empty line here. Maybe better color would be better. This here, this is empty line here. This is this div with the 10 height. Okay, so now we have these two blocks, but we of course want to display them a little bit nicer. Okay, so to display them a little bit nicer, we need to parse down the Markdown file. To parse down Markdown file, we'll use the gray matter package. So go to the terminal, shut down your server for a second, clear this out, and let's run here npm or pnpm, depends what you're using, install, and let's write here package gray-matter like this. Press enter, and this will install the package, and after that you can run npm run dev to continue. Go back to your coding editor, and in the lib folder blocks.ts, let's import the matter here. So import matter from gray matter like this. And when we are getting the item in path, what we can do, we can get this entire content, and we can run it through the function matter we just imported. So matter, and let's provide here the entire file content like this. And the result of this, let's store it as the object here, which will destructurize the parts from it of the data and the content. Okay? Because back you are getting the object on which you have a data, and the content, the data will be the actual metadata from the front matter, this data up here, separated by the 3 dashes, and the content will be the actual string content of this down here. Okay, these separate parts will return as this. We will return it as the new object, which data will destructurize, and I will merge it to the one object like this. Okay? Since we are working with a TypeScript, I will specify the type from this because this will be our blog post what we are getting here. This will be our blog post with the properties we have here: title, description, author, image, cover, image, date, and the content. So we'll create here a new folder in my main folder, like this, new folder. New folder here. I will call it types or interfaces. New folder, I'll call it interfaces. in the interfaces, I will create a new file. I will call it with the uppercase block.ts, and I will create here interface of the block where I will specify all these keys I was just saying. So we have a cover image of type string. Then we have the author image image string. Then we have an author which is a string. Then we have a title which is string. Then we have a description which is a string. Then we have a content which is string. Everything is string. Then we have a slug. We don't have a slug, but we will create which will be string, and a date which is string. To not complain this. To stop complaining this interface, we need to export it. So I'll write here export interface block. Okay, now we can use this block. So let's go back to the lib folder blocks.ts. As we are returning this data, I will call it as block. Like this, and we need to import this interface from up here, import block interfaces /block. Now from get item in the path, you're returning the block post, and get blocks. When you hover over, you can see returning the blocks array. You can also explicitly say here column, and this is returning the blocks array. All right, and actually, why is complaining here? Oh, it should be block array like this. Okay. Now go back to the page tsx because it will be complaining here. As you see here, I will hover over JSX tags children. Expects a single child, but because the block is now object, so we cannot display it like this. We will write it like this: block.title and block.description, like this, and we'll separate in the divs. You can see it better. All right, one div here and one div here. Okay, because now the block is not just a simple string content, but it's the actual object. Okay, so let's save it like this, and you will see, refresh, and now you have this blog post Markdown extending example. Learn how to write Markdown, and the second blog post, the title and the description. If you want to how the blocks looks like, you can just write here console log blocks, console log blocks like this. Okay, let's save it now. Go back to the terminal, and you will see here that's how a blog post looks like. It's an object with its properties plus content. Okay, nothing special here. This properties plus content. Okay, but let's continue because we have still a lot of to do, and this video shouldn't take much time. Okay, so we have a blog post. Now we're getting also the content. Now we can display them somehow nicely formatted. Okay, to do so, we will go to the browser, to the Tailwind components, actually where I have it, Tailwind components. So tailwindui.com/components. You can use here some free components. You can scroll down into the component sections to the product list. You have a product list here. You can click at this, and we'll be using product list. Which one? This down here. This is what you see here. As you see here, an example of the preview and the code. Click on the code and select here React from the drop-down menu. Here is the React. Simply, what you're copying from this, you can copy just this div here. This div. Okay, nothing more. Copy this div, paste it here. Instead of this div here, I'll just paste it here. Okay, you will see here a couple of issues. Instead of the products, you want to iterate here. You want to write here blocks actually. And instead of the products, you want to iterate here blocks as well. You will get here a singular block. As the key, you'll use the ID again for now. Just write here ID and use here just a simple ID. As the href, you will just use the empty string. We don't have any links yet, so empty string. As the image, you will use the component of the image from the Next.js. So let's write here image. Like this, you need to import it. So go up here and let's write here import image from next/image like this. This will get you the image, and as a src to it, we will use the block.cover image. As the alt attribute, you will just use the empty string. We don't have any alt yet. And as the product name, you will use here block.title. And as the block price, you will use the block description. Block description. Perfect. Now to see this, it will not look that great, I can assure you. This will not be that great because we need to do still a couple of changes. By the way, under the image, you write here fill, and to the class name up here, right there, a relative class. That's how you're using the next images. The parent class should be relative, and in the image, which is child, you should have a fill, which will provide the width and the height of the parent class to this image. Okay, so that's how you should work with the new images in the Next.js. This will still not work because when you will take a look on your content in the blocks.ts, not this one, but in the content and here, blocks folder and the Markdown examples, I'm using here images from the unsplash.com. And here in the NFT marketplace, I am using the images from a tranga.surf.com. You need to whitelist these domains in order to use them. So you need to go to the next config.js. Oh, this video is taking a really long time. I thought it will be faster, but there is a lot of things to write. Right? So in the next config, you need to write images like this, curly brackets, and the in images you will write dangerously allow SV and SVG. You'll mark it to the true. And the second thing will be domains. You want to allow, and this will be this what I just said, images/unsplash. Make sure you're not making any mistake.com. And the second one will be tranga, like this, surf.com. And I will save this. This will still not work because when you will go to the Tailwind, you will see here that you need to use here package. You need to use here plugin Tailwind CSS aspect ratio. So copy this name, @ Tailwind CSS / aspect ratio. Copy this, go to the terminal, shut down your server for a second, and let's write here npm or pnpm install and this package. It's a very small package. So after it's done, let's go to the coding editor, go to the Tailwind config.js, and here as you have plugins, you will use this plugin. Just write here require statement and the name of the plugin. So require and @ Tailwind CSS aspect ratio like this. Now we can start up our server. Okay, so yeah, I can close all of this. Okay, let's go to the terminal, npm run dev. Go back here, go to the localhost 3000, let's refresh. And you should see here, error. I have my mistake in the host name, probably images/unsplash.com. Let me copy this one more time. I will go to my next config. Yeah, I have just an image. It should be images/unsplash.com like this. This domain has to be correct. So let's save it now. Go to terminal, clear it out. npm run dev. All right, let's refresh, and now it should work. And now other one, and the serif is also wrong. Okay, let me copy this from here. Good that we're getting this informative errors. We can go back to the next config and we can just simply copy it here. All right. Okay, I didn't remember it correctly. Okay, npm run dev, and now it should work. 100%. Here it is. Okay, so we have our 2 blog posts, which is great, and now we can work on the detailed pages. So when we click on the blog post, we will display some content. So we need to work. We need to first construct the slacks of the blog post because the blog posts they don't have slacks yet. And I will show you, right? So I will go to here to the blocks.ts. Let's console log out your blocks. Just as we had it before, console log. Just simply write it somewhere. Console log blocks. Go to the terminal. Here it is. You can see there is no slack property, so we are going to construct it from the title. Not from the title, from the file name. My mistake. So let's go to the lib blocks.tsx and let's create here helper function in which we will be creating. You'll be creating this slack. So as you see here, we are mapping over the names here. We are getting the name and the get item in path. We'll create here intermediate function, which we'll call the block, get block. So const get block up here. Nothing special, normal arrow function, to which will receive the name of the file which we want to get, the block we want to get. Okay, it will be a type of a string. And then we can just simply copy what we have here. So this get item in path. Okay, we can extract from here. We'll call it block, const block, get item in path, and then return a block like this. And instead of writing here this entire new function, we just provide here get block. like here, map here, and get block. So in each iteration, we'll provide a name to get block here. And this functionality is the same, but we can provide here some additional functionality. So for example, I can write here block.slack, and I can assign here the slack, which will be consisting of the file name. So I'll write your name to the replace, and Slack shouldn't contain the extension of MD, but this name what you are receiving has also extension of the MD because your file name has the MD extension, as you see, .md.md. So you want to remove this extension, you can do it by replace. You will write here this pipe facing to this backslash facing to the right side, facing to the left side, .md, $, again, slash here, comma, and you will replace it. This is just a reg expression to replace the extension of the MD by the empty string. This will construct your Slack. So when you will save this, you will go refresh here and back to the terminal. You should have here blog post, which will contain also Slack. You can see Slack here. Now we have a Slack we can use. Perfect. So now we don't need console logs. You can go back to the page TSX, remove the console logs of the blogs, and use here Slack. So instead of using here IDs, you can remove the ID from the mapping, and as a key, we'll use the blog.slack. And yeah, now we can work on the detail page. Detail page you will construct in the app folder as everything. Create here a new folder. Let's call it the blogs folder. In the blogs folder, create a new folder. Let's call it square brackets Slack. This should be folder, not a file. Square brackets and Slack inside of them. And then inside of this folder, a new file, call it again page.tsx. This will be the detail page constructed under the path localhost 3000 /blogs / the Slack. Okay, and here will be const block detail like this. Again, I will mark it as a next page. So column next page, return here some JSX. Okay, and export default this page, export default block detail. I'll write here some just testing content. I'll write here just a div and generic page like this. Perfect. Okay, so we have the page. We can try to just sit out to navigate to the page, but first we need to create a link to it, which will be from the home page. So go to the page TSX here. Instead of the A element, we'll be using here link element, which is in the Next.js. So let's just write here link. It should be imported from up here from the next/link, as you see, and also write the ending tag link here. Now to the link, we need to provide href, which will be here backticks /blogs / curly brackets blog.slack. So this will create this dynamic path to /blogs to the Slack of the blog post. Now we can save this. We can go back to the browser, refresh, click on the first blog post. You can see generic page. You can see here the URL, which has been constructed. Go to the second page. You can see localhost 3000 and the URL, which has been constructed. Perfect. So now we have a detailed page for each blog post. Now we just need to fetch the blog and we need to display the content. Or actually, also maybe we can create a layout, because as you see here, currently a generic page is just too close to the right side of the page. So we should provide here some padding. So as I mentioned before, layout.tsx is wrapping all our pages. So go to the home page for a second. Up here you have two divs, bg white and this one under it, which is providing some padding to your page. So simply copy these two divs on the top of your home page, copy them, go to the layout.tsx and paste them under the children. And about the children, and under the children, let's provide here closing divs like this, and the second one closing div here. You can create here some indentation here like this. Now go to back to the home page, and in the home page, let's remove these two divs you have copied. Just provide here one upper div. So just simply remove the two divs up here, remove the two divs down here, and let's create here a new wrapper, a new div, new empty div, like this. Actually, it was created already for me, or where is this div? Div here. Okay, now it's correct. Okay, so now just indent it properly. So I'll select everything, shift tab to the left side. Okay, so now we should have a layout, properly providing the padding to the generic page. Also, our home page should look like the same. Okay, so now we have also the padding to our generic page, and now we can provide the content to our detail page. Okay, so let's go back to the coding editors. If you worked before with the Next.js, in Next.js 12, you used get static paths to generate the detailed pages. In the new Next.js, you will use something else. So go to the page tsx in the Slack folder, and here, let's write here, actually down here, let's write here export function, and we'll call this function generate static params. Generate static params like this, and let's return here the following thing. First, let's get here all the blog posts. So let's write here const blocks. Let's write here equal sign and get blocks. You need to, of course, import the get blocks from lib. All right. And here you will return blocks.map. You will map over all of the blog posts. You will get here in each iteration single block from which you will return object. So right here normal brackets and inside curly brackets like this, and you will return here object with the slug, which will be our value of the slug like this. And this function you can use instead of the get static paths, and this will generate the pages. And plus it will pass to every page the slug, which we can verify here. We can receive here params, and we can write a generic page dash and a params.slug. So here curly brackets params.slug. Okay, so we are iterating all the blocks, and we are returning here array of the objects where we are providing the slug param, which we can retrieve then back to the page. I will show you too how it looks like now. So let's save this, go back to the browser, refresh, and you can see generic page dash markdown example, and here will be NFT marketplace. Perfect. Now this is complaining because we are using a TypeScript. So let's specify here a type. You will do it like this: interface params extends parsed URL query like this. You will write here slug of string like this, and you will write here type props like this. You will write here params, and params are a type of the params. All right, and then just simply do the next page. You will provide the props like this, and now the params will be defined. You can now access, you can see the slug under the params. Okay, so this is done. Everything will work as before. Okay, perfect. So now we can just prepare the function to actually get a blog post by the slug. So again, this implementation will be in our library folder. So let's go back to the code. Not to this, but to the code. We'll go to the lib folder in our blocks, and we'll create here a new function under the get block. I'll create here a function called get block by slug const get block by slug normal arrow function. To parameter will provide a slug, which will be string value. All right, I will get here construct your file name because we don't have a file name. Remember, we have removed the MD extension from the slug, so we need to construct the slug back again. So this will be slug plus extension md.md, don't forget, and return here and get a block like this, to which you will provide your file name like this. This will get me the blog post now, and I will re-export this get block by slug from here. So, oops, not this, but get block by slug from export. Okay, and now I can use this function in our get detail page. So go to the page.tsx under the slug folder, and here I will create a new function. This will be async function. Actually, it doesn't have to be async yet, just a function. Call it get initial block. All right, or actually it can be also arrow function. It's up to you. Get initial block, to which will provide a slug of string like this. We will get here block, which we can get from the get block by slug, which will provide the slug to it, and it will return block from here. And the get block by slug you need to import from the library/blocks. Now in the block detail, we'll use your function we used before. We'll use your use from React. Remember, import it from the React. And to it, we'll call the get initial blocks like this, and which will provide the params.slug and the result we will assign to the variable called block, and this should be const block. Okay, and why it is complaining? Argument of the block is not assignable to the parameter of the promise unknown. Okay, so maybe in the end we need to mark it as the async function because it's expecting promise. So let's write there async in the end up here, and it should work. Okay, now we will get our blog post. So we can write here instead of this curly brackets and simply block content. Okay, let's save it this way. Go back to the browser, refresh, and you can see here is the content of your blog post as a string. I will go to the other one here, and here is the content of the blog post, and yeah, looks great. So now what we want to do is to display this content somehow nicely formatted as the HTML, because now we are using the Markdown format. We need to compile Markdown. We need to parse it in Markdown format into the HTML format. And for this, we'll use again some new packages. So go to the terminal, we'll install them straight away. So we'll close this. Again, npm or pnpm, what you are using. So we'll write here pm install. And we need to install the three packages. One is called remark, other one is called remark-html, and the other one remark-gfm, like this. Press enter, it will install the packages. We can run back our server straight away after it is installed. So right here npm run dev, back to the coding editor, and we'll use here these packages. So let's import in a curly brackets remark from remark. Then you will import HTML from remark-html, remark-html, and then import remark-gfm from remark-gfm. Okay, now I need to create a function to parse down the content. So actually where I'm to importing this should be in the lib folder. My mistake, just simply copy this, remove it from here. Let's go to the lib folder. Too much coding for today. And let's get it here into lib folder blocks.ts. And let's create your helper function. Let's say up here, let's write your const. Not let's write it, let's create a variable const, and let's call it this function markdown to HTML. Markdown to HTML, like this. This will be async function to which you will display the content of the markdown, which will be type of the string, markdown of string, and we'll pass it down to the HTML. We will do it like this. We'll write your const result. You will get your markdown string content, and you will use here await a remark function, and you will chain here .use. You'll use here the HTML. Don't remark HTML. You will use here HTML. You use the remark GFM. Remark-gfm, and you will process the entire markdown like this, and then you will return from here result to string like this. So that's how you will be passing content. You will get here the normal markdown content. This is well documented in the remark library. Just use here the use functions to what formatting you are using, HTML, and this is some additional formatting in the GFM package. You will process the markdown, and you will return the string of the already processed markdown. This is actually also better explained and documented in my course. So yeah, I don't have time to explain the details of this here. So we'll just get the markdown to HTML, and we'll export it from here. So let's re-export it from here. And actually, we don't need to re-export it. Why I'm doing this? We just need to simply parse the content straight away here in our function getBlockBySlack. So here in the getBlockBySlack, as we are getting the block, we can assign it to the variable of the block like this, and we can reassign the content. So we can write here block.content, and here we'll use the await and markdown to HTML, which will provide the original block content. And now we can return block from here. This will complain because we can't use await when we don't have an async function. So let's mark this function as the async here. Okay, and we will get here actual content now as the parsed HTML. So Yeah, let's save it, get back to the browser, let's refresh, and you see when you refresh it, you have the actual content as the HTML. You can see you don't have any special symbols here any longer, but you have here paragraphs and strong element and so on. So now you can display this content as the actual HTML. You see it's not formatted as the HTML yet, but for this you need to go back to your blog detail page, and instead of displaying here in the Slack blog content, you can remove this. You can create here a self-closing div like this, on which you will provide dangerously set inner HTML like this, and to this you will provide the underscore HTML and blog.content, and this will display this as the HTML now. So when you will save this now back here, you can see everything is now as the HTML. Looks already better. Now we want to provide some formatting to it, and for formatting we'll use the Tailwind typography class, which is also here somewhere here, Tailwind CSS typography. This will style the Markdown much nicer. So I will copy this package name Tailwind CSS typography, go to the terminal, shut down this, clear it out. Let's run here npm install this package, press enter, go to the code and go to the Tailwind config.js, and to the plugins here, let's write the require and provide here please Tailwind CSS typography. Okay, now we can save this and you can recompile the project. So npm run dev. This will not work yet because you need to provide the typography class. So go back to the code, to the blog detail page, and wrap your content in the article. In article, in which you will provide the class of, I'll show you. It says very simply article, close your enter div in the article, and let's provide your class name, which will be pros and lg pros-xl, like this. Let's save this, go back to the browser and refresh, and much better. Perfect. I imagine to read the content, actually let's see the other content of the NFT marketplace. I imagine the content to be better readable when it's in the middle. So to get it more in the middle, go back here and wrap your content in the new class. So here in the div, let's write a class name, and let's write a w-2/3 like this, and m-auto. m-auto. So this will decrease the width and it will put the auto margin, so it will be more in the middle, you will see like this, and now it's pretty nice to read. Okay, so our page is already getting shape, and yeah, it's almost done. As a little bonus for you, I have prepared one component you can copy here, and you can provide it as a blog header where you will provide the additional metadata for your blog post. This component you can get from, give me a second, I will show you where you can get this component from. I'll get you link. Actually, you can find the link already in the description of the video. This is, I think this should be here. And commits, blog header. Yeah, you should find a similar link to this, and you should get a link to the blog header. And here's a component we're going to create. Simply click here, view file, and the file should be called blockheader.tsx. Click here row, copy everything from here, go to your code, and in a blogs Slack folder under the Slack, create here a new file, call it blockheader.tsx. Paste everything here, and yeah, you have a blockheader component right now, and verify imports if they are correct in your case, and then you can go to the page tsx, and here under the div you can use a blockheader component, and to this you need to provide a block data, so just provide the block data to it like this. Now let's save this, and you should have a block header which will look like this, which is consisting of your author name and date, and the blog title, blog description, and blog cover image. All this data are here in the content folder. So if you want to decide to some content of the blog post, so for example the title I don't want to have here updated, I will just remove it. Maybe some different authors, so let's say John Green or whatever. Let's save this. You will go back to the page, you will refresh, and you can see it will change. The author is now John Green, and Markdown extensive example is the title. Okay, a couple of other changes. In the description of this video, you can find also a link to the additional content, just as an example that we can display more content here. you should find the link to the zip file, which is called blogs.zip. Just simply open this file and copy the entire content of it. You can copy all of the blog posts. Okay, you can copy the entire blog post. You can go to the folder of your project. So let me locate my project, personal app. Here it is, and go to the content folder and to the blogs. You can remove your original blog posts here, and you can paste here new ones. Paste 6 items, so you will have a 6 blog posts here. And when you will refresh now, you should have here 6 blog posts plus this empty thingy. Okay, when you are when using the Mac, let's go to the terminal. Sometimes it's creating the empty file for you. So I'll go to my content folder, blogs. All right, and LSA. Here, as you can see, the DS store file. Okay, I will remove it from here. RM and DS store. This should remove this file. So if you have some empty file in this blogs content folder, just remove it now. It should be fine, and I can npm run dev and refresh, and it should have here only blog posts. Perfect. Maybe the description of the blog post is a little bit long. We can shortify it. We can just create a helper function to create a shorter content. Okay, this will be the last thing. Okay, and we are done. Okay, so go to the pages folder, up folder, and to the page tsx, and here we'll create a helper function. Let's say up here, I'll write here const shortify function, to which will provide the original text of string. Provide the value how long we want to have a text, so max length. By default, we can say, let's say 60 will be the default length. And then we will write your if statement. If the text length is lower or equal to the max length, then we don't need to shortify, we just return the original string. Otherwise, we need to shortify, so let's write your return text substring of the length 0 of the max length plus joined to the end of the string 3 dots like this. This should be a return. And this will be our shortify function, which we'll be using down here. So we will display here block description. We'll wrap it in the shortify function, and we'll provide the length of this will be by default 100. Also, I think the description has a little bit bigger font. So here, instead of the text LG class, we'll use the text MD, which will provide a little bit smaller text. Let's say it this way. Go back to the browser, let's refresh, and you can see it is already a little bit. It is better already. Yeah. But you can modify it as you want, and you have created a professional blogging website in quite short time. Okay, so that's how it looks like. We have used the latest Next.js 13 features. If you want to learn more, if you want to implement more features, and you would like to have the complete application, you can just simply follow my core. I'll show you to it now. Here's the chorus, which is covering these features, plus it's going much deeper and creating also more features. Okay, so that's gonna be it from this video, and I will see you around. Cheers.